This is communist Yugoslavia. Situated here in Eastern Europe, it violently broke up into pieces during the 90s, but it once included the nations of Bosnia and Kosovo, two of Europe's largest population of indigenous Muslims. Yet for over 50 years, that status will be threatened with devastation and demolition. These are the lost mosques of Yugoslavia. These houses here are pretty much all empty. You can even see the war ruins, and some of these are completely abandoned. That one looks like it's just been bombed recently, but these are all from 27 years ago. They're just left here.
It would reach its climax with the massacre at Srebrenica.
They were scenes few thought were still possible.
From July 1995, the largest genocide in Europe since World War II is perpetrated in the mountain passes of Srebrenica. Areas which were predominantly Bosniak were purified and emptied, with the number of murdered in the thousands. And today, those areas are still under the control of the Serb perpetrators.
Soldiers slaughtered more than 7,000 Muslim men and boys.
By Bosnian Serb soldiers, they filmed these pictures of their handiwork. And this man, Asmir, is aged just 16. Then they lie down, surely knowing what awaits.
Probably when I saw the dead people around in front of me and the people who were dying, I was shocked. And I don't remember when I was hit, but I was hit in fact in my stomach with 3 bullets in my right arm, left foot. At the time I just wanted to die, and I prayed God to die.
This is a mosque here which was shelled, absolutely destroyed during the war. But not a single mosque in this city was spared. All of it destroyed, razed to the floor in efforts to fully cleanse these Bosnian territories of Islamic heritage and culture. And it was obviously rebuilt after the war, and here it is, nice, lavish, modern mosque. But also empty, completely empty. And it's the same with everything in this city. It's just horrifically silent and empty in a ghost town. I understand that we've not really discussed why Bosnia was sent to the Dark Ages during the 90s, because for that, I'm already in the process of developing another documentary series. But in short, when Bosnia wanted to leave communist Yugoslavia in 1992, well, the Serbs weren't too happy. Serb President Slobodan Milosovic wanted to carve for himself a greater Serbian state out of the dying Yugoslavia. He waged a bloody campaign in majority Catholic Croatia, Kosovo, Slovenia, and even Bosnia. And so, because around 40% of Bosnians were Orthodox Serb, they commenced a campaign to purify the region of Bosniaks to help forge this greater Serbian state. They incite old ethnic tensions, essentially sparking a crusade against the very culture and the way of life which had been in Europe for 5 centuries. And to understand Bosnian tradition and culture a little bit more, Sarajevo is my quintessential starting point. This is my first time experiencing snow in Bosnia, in the Balkans. Look what just spotted here, just on the random. Holy crap, look at that. Oh yeah, the UN. Thank you. Okay, so introduce yourself. So what is your name? And
Medi Babic, and I was born in 1978 in Sarajevo. I was 13. I was a child, I play, and I know when bombing stopped, we go to street to play. Old city is famous because there are a lot of mosques, and the most population was Muslim, and this part of the city was the most grenaded. They bombed like houses, but especially as a mosque. During that time, people immediately
Rebuild.
Yeah.
As UN peacekeeping forces swept through the war-torn cities, they were horrified to find ancient mosques laying in puddles of rubble. The photo that captivates me the most from this time period is this one. British troops serving under the UN, posing with their rifles, standing guard by a damaged mosque, and despite their delayed deployment, vowing to protect these sacred spaces. So I'm going now. It's currently 8 p.m. Two really lovely people have arranged for me to get some proper Bosnian dishes. Okay, let's get it.
We have 9 madrasas, 7 of them are in Bosnia, but most of them existed during communism. All of them were closed except this madrasa. So
Wow.
the only madrasa with continuous work, with continuous effort, 486 years continuously. So, yeah, when Ottomans conquered Bosnia,
Yes?
they decided to build a mosque in his honor.
Oldest jami in Sarajevo.
And do you know, during the war, was this damaged? Was it bombed during the war?
Yeah, it's rebuilt.
Wow.
It's rebuilt. Not completely, but it's rebuilt.
Like other mosques in the world.
We have a data that like 900 mosques or maktabs and mosques were destroyed during the war. 900.
The deliberate attempt to erase Islam from Europe was not just limited to the cities of Sarajevo or Srebrenica, because in Banja Luka, all 16 mosques were destroyed. In the city of Mostar, 12 out of the 14 mosques were leveled. In the single town of Foka, 12 mosques systematically torched. And in Visegrad, the Muslim city without Muslims, all the mosques, including many of the citizens, were ceremonially slaughtered. These cities are just but a few examples. The destruction of mosques were not only contained to Bosnia, but also Kosovo. So, you're probably wondering, why is there just a random minaret on its own without a mosque? Because, you know, you have a minaret and then you have a mosque. Well, it's got a dark past to it. So, under Tito in Yugoslavia, they had a modernization plan. And through what was called the Popular Front, Narodni Front in Serbian, they ushered a new era of construction in Yugoslavia. They wanted to make these weird dystopian modern architecture, and so they wanted to remove anything which resembled the old Ottoman past. And so there was a campaign, a local campaign as well, so local people pushed for the destruction of old heritage sites like this. And this is not just a heritage site, this is a place of worship. So this was built in 1593, this mosque here that once stood here. But in 1964 it was destroyed, razed to the floor. Now it was one of many mosques that were destroyed here in Prizren and also in Kosovo and also the former Yugoslavia. And it would only be a matter of time until the Yugoslav wars, especially in terms of Kosovo, the 1998 to 1999 war, which saw the widespread destruction of even more mosques. So approximately 200 out of the 600 mosques that lay here in Kosovo were destroyed or damaged or wrecked in some form or another. They demolished it apparently to make space for a marketplace and like a post office. So I assume that's the post office there. That's the grand post office that they wanted to destroy an entire culture just to plonk on top of it.
Now Now they dwell among destroyed mosques in a town where the mayor sees bright prospects.
Well, here it is, the next mosque on our list. This mosque was built by, from the orders of Mehmed, the conqueror, so the guy who conquered Istanbul. It was built in 1455, and it was the first mosque here in Prizren. It was used to accommodate the Muslim soldiers who had just recently occupied the city. Unfortunately, it went into obviously neglect, especially when the Serbs took over in 1912, I believe. Well, this is what remains of one of the oldest mosques in Kosovo. Definitely the oldest here in Prizren. You can imagine this place here being filled with Ottoman soldiers. There was an excavation project in the 1960s and 70s to unearth what remains of the mosque. It wasn't necessarily destroyed, but neglected and fallen into disrepair because of laws and other sort of bureaucratic obstacles. But here it is. In 1999, this mosque in western Kosovo, named the Red Mosque, was burned to almost ashes. A mosque which had stood there since the 1700s was now left in pieces, along with the Imam's house. And it was just one of many mosques that would be damaged during the Yugoslav wars, during Serbia's counter-insurgency movement here in Kosovo. Explosives were often planted within mosques and detonated, mosques were burnt and vandalized, and the barrels of tanks were aimed and poised at the minarets, demolishing the mosque as the minarets came crashing down. And so it was a way of destroying the culture and therefore forcing people to leave. The Serbs wanted as many ethnic Albanians in Kosovo to leave as possible. And so if they bombed the mosque, essentially bombed the cultural powerhouse of the localities. But it appears now it has been rebuilt. So the church that you see in the distance, unfortunately, after the Yugoslav wars, after 1999, it was damaged and wrecked by, unfortunately, Albanians, ethnic Albanians. Now, it's a shame I say that because during the war, the Albanians hadn't done such a thing. Not a single church was damaged by the Albanians. However, after the war, they sort of went to seek revenge. And to really get back something from the Serbs, and that was through destroying churches. So while a lot of mosques were also destroyed, we also have to cover the fact that churches, Orthodox churches may I add, were destroyed. But there is a glimmer of hope for these lost relics. You may have heard me mention the word rebuilt. It has been rebuilt. Rebuilt after the war.
It's rebuilt.
Immediately built.
Rebuilt. That's because the aftermath of the Yugoslav war saw a surge in foreign donors to both Bosnia and Kosovo.
Bosnia and Herzegovina has a special place in our hearts, and our support for them would only grow stronger from now on.
And through their efforts, fallen mosques are being restored. Like this one in Banja Luka. It was skillfully reconstructed using almost all of the bomb fragments that were retrieved. So, the mosque behind me, yeah, although it kind of has that Ottoman vibe, it does look futuristic. And the reason behind that is that it was funded by the Kuwaiti government. And it was a gift to the Bosnians here in Sarajevo. And it's not just this mosque which was built by foreign powers, foreign countries, but it's one of many. We'll have a look here at the sign. It might have been built by a foreign investor. Jemek i Kuće, the Red Mosque. You can see here, Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Emirate. Rebuilt in 2004 by the good old Emiratis. Obviously they had to scavenge what was left of the mosque. So as you can see, there's different coloured bricks here used. So this street is funnily enough named after Kemal Ataturk, but it's also the place where modern Turkey recently built a massive mosque. Now the reason you can tell this is evidently Turkish is because it's got 2 minarets. But Muslim countries weren't the only donators, because here in Peja, Western Kosovo, I stumbled across a peculiar donator. So it turns out that this mosque was funded by the Italian government. And not far from where I was, there had even been a mosque donated by the kindness of Harvard University. Now, as the Balkans slowly move away from the horrific memories of the 1990s, life here in Bosnia and Kosovo may never be the same. The scars of the war will remain punctured in stone. And so may the memory of these heavenly gardens endure. They shall forever stand as a testament to the violence, to the cruelty, the shameful and the evil. But also as eternal gardens of the names of those who blessed them with their presence. May the Almighty preserve his beacons of light, our spiritual homes, our heavenly gardens.